All right, so we've got episode 7 and 8 in the books for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I guess we'll call it season 1, even though it doesn't have that official title yet. But yeah, so we've finished the show. We've been able to marinate on what we've seen for the last few days, at least. I guess it's been about 5 days since the finale release. So yeah, I'm interested because I know Schultz, you haven't been on with us since we've done these through various crazy circumstances. You've had to be out the last couple times we've done this. So
Um,
I'm very interested to see what you thought, and then we'll get right to it. And I guess since you've been kind of out of the loop for a little while, we'll let you give your thoughts. We'll kind of step through it. We'll start with 7, and then we'll go into 8 once we've kind of talked our way through 7. So what did you think?
um, just about episode 7. I mean, I don't know, I thought it was good. I don't think there was anything like bad about it really necessarily. Yeah, really, I'm gonna just keep sort of like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the episode. I didn't think it was bad. Again, I mean, like, I don't really remember a whole lot from the books, so I can't like say like, oh yeah, that was like carbon copy to the books. But like, for just like a viewer standpoint, without watching the books or reading the books, sorry, thought it was like a good episode slash show in general. So wasn't really anything. I feel like nothing really stood out about the episode either, though. In a way, nothing like crazy happened. It was just, well, I mean, I guess Cerberus code up, but like also like Cerberus to me, like I don't know if it was about you guys, but like I feel like it was kind of not corny, but like I don't know how. I guess maybe the special effects on him like wasn't like there for me. Wasn't doing it, but I didn't really care for that aspect of it. But other
I
than
was
that,
curious to see what y'all thought about the underworld as a whole, how y'all felt it, how it looked, and
yeah.
the
So
production design on a
since you
lot of
just read
that.
through the books, was it pretty similar then? I guess because like again, I can't remember if it was or not. Like I don't remember
So
if
what I remember from the books, when this is kind of the main thing I thought was lacking. I didn't think all the production design was necessarily bad.
mm,
I thought the Fields of Asphodel part was pretty decent. The I think that the sort of thought I had, other than the one scene where they're near the pit of Tartarus and it looks like a bunch of dunes in a desert, I
mm,
thought the whole thing just looked the same. There really wasn't any variation. It was just kind of foggy and dark,
okay,
and everything just looked like black rock. And
yeah.
I feel like I remember in the book. I mean, it's been a few weeks since I read the first one, but I think I distinctly remember there's a lot of like fire and stuff in the
Okay.
underworld, and so there's sort of contrast between darkness and the flames and everything and the
Okay.
different aspects of it. You have the river Styx that runs through the underworld as well, which they don't really. I mean, I think it's there at one point, but they don't really
Mm,
talk about it a whole lot. And so um, I don't know. I feel like it was a very one dimensional version
okay.
of the underworld and sort of bland, if that's a good way to put it.
That's
Um,
actually a good point though too. Actually, now I think about that, like watching the episode, I feel like you're not wrong because I feel like going into it, I was expecting a little bit more probably from like seeing the underworld. I guess you're not wrong. It was kind of bland. I was expecting to see like I don't know, like more of like how like I guess everyone pictures what hell would look like, or like
yeah,
the underworld type deal, like
yeah.
or it'd be fire of some sort or stuff like that. But there wasn't. So that I can kind of understand on. Yeah. So
I just, it was like, I don't want to know. I don't really know for sure if it was the shortest episode, but it was definitely a shorter episode, probably like 35, 36 minutes, I think. I really think it advanced the story fine, well in my opinion,
mm,
but it did not explain what was going on in some spots necessarily. Like the part about how Grover's wearing the flying shoes and he's gonna fly Percy up and then he's gonna fly back down to get Annabeth, and then when him and Percy get to the top, they turn around and Annabeth is like hanging all the way up at the top of the cliff. I was just kind of like,
well, so I think my thing on that though is I'm guessing is what they were going for was when she threw the ball up there, she was holding on to Cerberus still. I'm guessing, and so when he
yeah,
jumped up there, she jumped off him onto the rocks. I'm guessing, or the cliffside.
I
That's
guess,
how I figured it, and I didn't really understand it either totally, but I'm guessing that's what they were going
yeah.
for, and that would
And
make
then
sense to me.
the part with her with Annabeth getting kind of wrapped by the first root, like we're just not going to talk about that at all. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was just like, oh, I've got some regret. Let me just use this pearl and get out of it. It's fine.
Yeah, they don't even like go into explanation on like what exactly she regrets and stuff, which
Right.
I guess that is kind of disappointing as well. I didn't really think
they
about that
don't.
either.
So that's not a thing in the book. So I don't know why they added that in there. I was just kind of like, I mean, okay, but it's not really
It's not bad. I'm not
necessary.
saying it's bad. I would just
More
have
of an
liked a little
explanation.
more context, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
And then the shoes flying away. That was part of the book, I'm pretty sure, right?
So the way they were in the book was that Luke had basically enchanted them somehow, or maybe Kronos had through other means enchanted them to basically pull the wearer down into
Yeah, yeah,
Tartarus.
yeah.
And so the original plan was that Percy, wearing the backpack with the bolt in it, would be wearing the shoes, and they would drag him down into Tartarus. And
Which I think is
Kronos,
that's what they were going for with this too.
yeah.
But
Which the way it happens with Grover wearing the shoes and Grover almost being pulled in is
yeah, yeah,
exactly
yeah.
how it happens in the book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I thought I remembered that. But then the bolt is just kind of like they were just all of a sudden like, what was that?
Yeah.
I don't know. That just
So I don't think, if I remember correctly, because doesn't he pull the bolt out like right after he saves Grover from getting?
Yes.
yeah.
I
And
want to
so
say he
I'll
doesn't
just
actually do that until maybe he's talking to Hades,
mm,
and he
I think
realizes like Hades is like, you have the bolt, and he's like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you've got it on you right now, and he opens the bag and it's right there.
so I can't remember. I think it may have happened in episode 8 though. Luke explaining it though. But did he say? I can't remember. Did the bolt get like was the bolt in the backpack the entire time? Actually, did he explain that? I can't remember.
he just
So
said it appears as soon as it gets dragged. It's the shoes get
Okay,
dragged
that's
into
what he said.
Tartarus.
Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't remember if it was in there the entire time. And if it was in there the entire time, why the heck didn't he open up the backpack at all? But that's what I was
yeah,
thinking
But
about.
so
like,
if I remember correctly in the books, so Ares um
in the
gives
bag.
him the backpack when they
Yes.
leave the diner, and they get in the truck with the animals and everything, and they go to Las Vegas.
Mm,
And then in the book it talks about how the bolt only appears, it's what they call like a essentially uh, there's some sort of magic into where the bolt will only appear at a specific instance. And so I can't remember. I think it has to be in the presence of maybe it was at Tartarus or the underworld or something. I don't remember exactly, but it was supposed to trigger somehow to show up in the backpack at a specific point. And
okay.
so I think they were pretty much this. They stuck to that similarly. I don't know exactly when it was that it appeared in the book, but I know it was sometime somewhere around that point. I think that they
Okay.
were pretty much on target with that.
Well, and then I guess another issue is then I guess for me, I don't think they really go into like explanation on that. Like I don't think he really says like why it just randomly appears in his backpack,
Right.
like when they get to Tartarus or whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't give like an actual reason. He just said it like randomly appears in the backpack. But I
It's
don't think
just
he
there.
actually
And they
gave an
hear
explanation on like why it would appear in the backpack if you got like close to like you're saying Tartarus, obviously, and
yeah.
stuff like that.
And
But I don't
and they
really
hear a noise and it's just there.
yeah.
Oh,
So I think
the episode 7 to me was not, like I said, it wasn't terrible. I'm not saying it's bad. I just wish they would have explained what was going on a little bit more. And I didn't understand why they didn't, because they had the time. Like, it was only 36-minute episode. They could have went.
Yeah.
Other episodes are like 42, 49 minutes. They could have used some of that time there. I'm going to say maybe I expected a little more out of Hades, but I think that comes from the movie side of Hades more than the book.
So
Not
in the
saying
book,
Hades
he's
is bad.
kind of. I was gonna say that I feel like his characterization, not the actor himself, like the look necessarily, but the mannerisms and his like the way he carries himself. In the book, he's always got this sort of air of unpredictability about his demeanor and like his sort of his anger and everything. Because he's the one that was sort of cast out from the gods. He's not allowed to have a seat in the council and all that, or he's not allowed to, take part in not the council, but he's not allowed to, have a cabin at Camp Half Blood, and all these different things. Um, he's sort of cast out, and so he's sort of got this chip on his shoulder, and so whenever people come in there, he's kind of like, who are you to come to me, kind of thing. And so
Mhm.
I feel like something maybe I haven't cared for too much in this show as a whole is maybe how I know the gods sort of present themselves as they're supposed to look sort of like normal humans at certain points where and they can sort of alternate between those.
Mhm.
Um, but their personalities always sort of stay godlike, where they're like, hey, don't talk to me like that, or I'll strike you down, kind of thing. And it's like all these gods just seem almost too relatable, too buddy buddy with you, like
Mhm.
they're almost too human. And it's like I would have liked maybe some more of that air of just that,
Well,
hey, don't
especially
mess with me, kind of,
mhm.
mentality. But
Well, especially Hades though too. I think Hades was very passive. He wasn't like very like aggressive how you would think Hades would be, I guess. And so I
in
think
the
that's
book, he like almost kills Percy and his friends when they show up
mm,
to like he's really close to just getting rid of them right then and there.
yeah.
And that
Yeah,
happens like every time that they go to the underworld in the books. Like he's always like that towards them.
Just on
and
site
then
pretty much.
in this one, he's just like, "Oh, I know who you guys are. I know what you want. Come on."
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I think
It
they're
just
trying to like subvert expectations there or
it
something.
just
Because
felt a little rushed.
yeah,
That part, the whole episode, really.
Yeah.
Like we do a time jump from where they are on the beach to this random mattress shop, and then all
so
of a
that
sudden,
is in the book though. Actually,
yeah, I know. It just there was no like a lot of times in the show they would talk about where they were going and why because Annabeth would have to, they played it off like Annabeth had to explain it to Percy. We just didn't see that this time, and my wife was like, she looked at me and said, "What's going on?" I said, "Just watch. I don't know."
and this is something else too I didn't care for in the mattress scene. The opening scene of of the show, and I said this in some of the earlier episodes that the roles of Percy and Annabeth are kind of switched because like she's the one who's supposed to know all the Greek mythology and he's not in the books. I mean, he knows like little scraps of it from what he's learned, when Chiron was teaching him in school and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, but he walks into the mattress shop and he immediately is like, "Well, you're crustacean or whatever the dude's name is." He's like, "You're the guy who, does this and basically tells him exactly what the guy does."
Mhm.
And I'm like, you're not supposed to know all that, you
Well,
know. And
right.
that's
Like, is it something they talk about before, or does he just know?
well,
Again,
so this is a theme throughout the whole series, not just the Lightning Thief, all the books, and even in when you get into some of like the Heroes of Olympus series, where there's this idea that like the Half Bloods are when they go out into the world, they're in more danger because monsters are drawn to them, right? They have that
Mhm.
scent on them. And then the more powerful you are, the more powerful half blood. If you're a child of the big three, then you're more susceptible to that than others. And so, um, the thing about it is though that made the books kind of so fun was that it's like these half bloods would go into these scenarios that were seemingly innocent, like going to a mattress shop and like, oh, we just came in here to hide from. In the book, they go in there to hide from these street kids that are trying to beat them up, basically. And they happen to hide in there, and the guy just happens to be like this. I don't know if he's a minor god or something. I can't remember exactly what he is, but
I think he's a demigod, right?
yeah, demigod. Maybe that's it. Um, and they just kind of unwittingly fall into that trap, and they kind of have to use their wits to get out of it. And um, that's kind of the fun part of the books is that they're always walking into these scenarios and they never realize until after that monster or whatever has revealed themselves or revealed the trap that it like that they know, oh, this is who this is. Like when they walk into um you know a the garden gnome emporium and there's a bunch of statues of people. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, you didn't realize it's Medusa at the onset, but when you get in there it's like, oh snap, yeah, that's who it is.
Mhm.
Like in that scene in the show, they already knew, and I think they might have had some idea in the book as well. But there's other instances where like they don't know what they're walking into, yet the whole fun of the book is that they have to use their collective skills to get their way out of these tough situations. So to me, it takes the tension out of it when you walk
Mhm.
into the store and you immediately explain to the person that's after you, that's trying to trap you, like, this is who you are and this is what you do. I know this, and so essentially, like, it's like you're playing 4D chess. You kind of know, the moves to win before anything actually happens. Um, it's just kind of like, to me, it just takes out of the moment of of the tense nature of it, of not knowing what's going to happen. And I think that's
Mhm.
where, when you just know, when the character just basically gives you a data dump right there about the person and what they do, it's like, oh, well, that was less interesting than it could have been.
Yeah.
Again, it felt rushed, right? That's what I just
Yeah.
watched that episode, and it's just like they were like, "All right, come on, we're just trying to get you to,
Yeah.
the next episode, essentially."
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's kind of a short episode. There's not really much to discuss. I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's Underworld, and then that's pretty much it. That's kind of I knew that was going to be sort of the based on how episode 6 ended. I knew that was going to be the focus of this one, but um, yeah, I guess that puts us kind of squarely on the finale, episode 8, and it picks up, right after they get out of the underworld. They've met Hades. He's like, "Hey, I need my helm back," and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And that was a part also. And this will segue right into 8. That was a part also where it was like, he's like, "Hey, I need my helm," and all of a sudden they're like, "I bet Hades has it," and they're like, or no, sorry, "I bet
Aries,
Ares has
yeah.
it," and I'm like,
Mm.
and that's it. That's like all they say to justify. They don't even explain why he would have it, and
What
I was
Aries
like,
does after they confront him about it, but like,
yeah,
Well, I guess
but
like viewer standpoint, I guess you're probably like supposed to kind of assume that because the fact that Ares gave him the backpack and the bolt was in there, so they probably assume that he had the helmet. Is my guess.
I guess, but I guess it's just poorly explained in the show.
No, that's fair, but yeah, I'm
Because
just
I just
guessing that's
remember
probably
thinking
what they're going for.
when he says that in the show, like, "Hey, get my helm back," and they kind of say, "Oh well, Ares has it." I remember just thinking to myself, how are people going to come to that conclusion? I guess. I mean, I
No,
guess like you said, if they put two and two together and say, okay, if he had someone steal the bolt, then maybe they stole the helm too. But
right.
yeah, I don't
Well,
know.
and at some point, once somebody says, "Oh, well, you stole the helmet and then used it to steal the bolt,"
yeah, I think
because
didn't Hades say that? I thought, yeah, I think Hades said that. I believe.
it may
So,
have.
yeah,
I
I think
can't
it was
remember
Hades
who
that
said
said
it.
that at
Somebody
the
said it.
end of episode 7, and then they teleported or used
I
the
may have
pearls.
missed that part too. It's completely possible.
He said something about, well, they stole my helmet and it,
Used it
let
to
people
steal the
turn invisible and then they use it to steal the bolt.
Mhm.
I think is what he said, something like that.
No, I'm
I
pretty sure
did,
you're right. I believe Hades said that. I believe at the end of
uh,
episode 7,
yeah,
like where they used the pearl. So I think you're right.
and I remember going right into episode 8. I remember in the books when I read the first book, I remember hating the fight of Percy and Ares in the book and how that ended. I hated that because, like, in my mind, I thought, and in the show too, the whole book is building up how powerful the gods are and all this stuff. And then in the show, I can't remember exactly in the book, but in the show, Percy just wipes the floor with Ares, the god of war, and
Yeah.
gets what he wants, stabs him in the ankle. Like, I'm just
Yeah. So
not. It
um,
was. I think it was that way in the book. Like, I'm not saying it's bad because it doesn't follow the book. Like, I didn't like the book part of that either.
Yeah. I think for entertainment standpoint though, I think like trying to like put it to like the big screen or like just like a TV show and stuff, I think they should have like maybe had like a little bit more of like a fight, I feel like.
it
Just
was
for like
really
more.
short.
It was very
Yeah.
short,
Like,
yeah.
it's
Mhm.
like Ares knocked him on his back, and then he summoned the water, and then he cut him, and that was it.
Well,
It's
and
like,
Ares kicked him. He kicked him in the ribs, I guess. And I'm like, in real life, if a grown man, like 30, 40-year-old man kicked a 12-year-old four square in the ribs. That kid is not getting up. Not
Why
quick
not?
anyway.
No.
Well, he kicked him through a puddle, so water, healed him, right?
No.
Sure.
Yeah, but also it's like
We can
Ares, the
take
god
that.
of war, though, like hitting someone in the ribs though as
Yeah.
well. Like I get he's a demigod as well, but like still, like I mean, I feel like from a god kicking someone, I feel like that has to have some force to it, like more than just a regular
So I
human
think
being.
the reason. So obviously, this is like a. It reminds me like the scene from Avengers: Infinity War where Tony Stark's fighting Thanos on Titan, and he's
Mhm.
like, he has to work all that hard, and he scratches him on the cheek, and he says, all that for just a
An ounce of
drop of
blood.
blood,
Yeah.
and it's like that's kind of how it's supposed to be in this
Yeah.
one, where in the book the fight is drawn out a good while, and
It
the
took
only
like half
reason
a
that
chapter.
the only reason Percy's able to actually fight with him is that eventually they work their way into the water, where he's basically drawing off of the power that his father and being like,
Mhm.
hey, because I'm in the water, my reflexes are heightened, I'm quicker, I can sense things, and he's able to counter, and he does enough to cut him, and that's it. Like he's not really he's the first one to do that in like a really long time. And the idea is like he had to do all that work and he had help from the water and sort of his dad and everything, and that's all he was able to do.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think in this one they kind of hint at that, but at the same time it's like it's so short that
Yeah.
and he kind of just that they almost put it more on like his father helps him to beat him, which I don't think that's exactly how it happens. I think the fact that he's a son of Poseidon just kind of he has that ability because he is touching, especially the sea of all
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
but also too, it's like he makes this comment of like, I told you if you did this and this that you'd find out who I was. And I'm like, that is the most Percy line for the character because he's sort of a very humble character.
Yeah. Doesn't have an ego
Uh,
or anything like that.
no, not really. I mean, he's always sort of sarcastic. He makes all these sarcastic jokes when he's in the middle of battle,
Yeah.
but he's always got this sort of humble side to him where he's like, "Hey, I just want to survive this battle." And it's kind of one of those statements where I'm like, it feels very out of character for him
Mhm.
to be like, "I'm going to show you who I am." It's like, no, in the book he was just trying not to die, because
Right.
he's fighting a god. So it's
And
like,
there was multiple times in the episode I was just kind of like, I don't know. Like I don't remember if it happens in the book or not, but Miss Dodge showing up to get the helmet from him.
she does that does happen, yeah.
Okay.
So, great, but also with that though, in the book, did they actually explain like so? Obviously, Percy turned her into concrete from Medusa's head in the what was it like episode 3? I think was it
Yeah, I don't think that
4?
that doesn't happen in the book that I remember, but
Okay, so I just don't like they didn't really go into detail on like how exactly she was able to. I guess like she turned her to concrete, but then obviously she lived. So I don't know. Is that like do monster? I can't remember. Like did they ever explain in the book like do monsters like if they? I don't think that's the thing. Like if she would have like got
well, I guess you could say, like, since he's like the master over death and the harpies kinda serve him that he can just, like,
Mhm.
resurrect her or something, but they don't
Yeah,
really
That's pretty
they don't
I don't
explain that.
explain
That's
that.
kinda
No,
like,
in
"Oh,
this
yeah,
she just
he
shows
was
up.
turned
Yeah, it
into
was just a
stone."
little confusing because like
Yeah.
from our knowledge, she was supposed to be just a statue at Medusa's place still, and so
Don't ask those questions. You're not supposed to ask.
yeah.
I
Just
mean,
go with it.
it's not. I'm not saying it's bad, to put her in that. But if you're gonna put her in rock, don't.
Well, I mean, if
They
you're gonna
didn't
do
do
it,
it.
you
They
gotta at
didn't.
least explain like why she's alive still and not
Right.
like a statue. Like
Yeah.
Oh,
they
right.
can't just like throw her right in there and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
she's not a statue no more."
Yeah.
Like,
I did like the explanation. Like, oh well, that's what you were after the whole time. Like you were after this the whole time. The older movie, the first Percy Jackson movie did not explain that at all. It was just Hades was coming after him. They don't even talk about the helmet in that movie at all.
yeah, I don't think is the helmet even a thing in the movie
No.
No.
actually.
And
I
in
was
the
gonna say I don't remember.
movie, Hades actually, like, tries to keep the bolt
Yeah.
and, like,
Mhm.
tries to
It's
and
just
then,
totally
like,
different.
Persephone basically snatches it from him and then, like, zaps him, and
Mhm.
and gives it to him, and it's like, yeah, no, that's not how that
So
happens.
that's also like another question, I guess, for the movies too. I don't remember really Percy fighting Ares in the movie either. Did he actually
No,
do
he
that?
fought Luke.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I
Luke.
thought he fought Luke at the end, but I
It
don't
come
remember him
out.
fighting
It
Ares.
come out. Well, this one followed the book. Actually, followed the book.
Yeah.
Like the movie, he found out a whole lot sooner that
Mhm.
Luke was the bad guy. And
He
anyway,
doesn't find out. So in the movie, he doesn't find out it's Luke until Luke. So he's going up to the Empire State Building to take the bolt back, and he and Luke kind of stops him there, and he's like basically admits to him that he's the lightning thief. So
Yeah.
in this one, so he finds out a little bit earlier in the movie than he does in the show.
yeah,
Where in
yeah.
the show, the way it happens in the show is actually
You
more
got the
accurate
camp
because
apple
it's
and
at the
stuff.
very end. The book's like it's literally the last part of the book,
hmm
and he's out in the woods talking to Luke alone, and basically Luke, you know, Percy finally figures it out. He sort of deducts it as they're talking, and
Mhm.
of course Luke admits it and tries to kill him with like a poison scorpion of some kind or something from the underworld. Some sort of they don't do that in the book. In this one, they just kind of fight, which I was fine with it, but
Oh. That's another fight scene I kind of wish they would have like maybe for at least entertainment purposes and like live action like form, I guess, like for the TV show. I wish it would have like got drawn out a little bit more, and they would have actually fought like I don't know, more of a hand to hand combat or just like sword fight more. I don't know. It just kind of felt like more anticlimactic, kind of like the Ares fight. It just didn't feel like there was. I feel like it could have gone on for a little bit longer.
Well,
At least.
and that's to me, that's really the whole episode. The whole episode was a little anticlimactic. Like,
Yeah.
even though he brings the lightning bolt back to Zeus, Zeus is like, "There's still a war. We're still going to have a war." And then Poseidon shows up and he's like, "I surrender. I'm done.
Yeah.
We're not doing it."
yeah, that whole thing. So I I love Lance Riddick though. By the way, rest in peace.
Yes.
Um,
Agreed.
and I liked the actor they got to play Poseidon too.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, what else is
How
he
are they
actually
brothers?
Do what?
How are they brothers?
I don't know.
from?
Just wondering.
Speaking of that, though, actually, what else is he from? Because he looked familiar. I just couldn't
He's
put,
in
a-
John Wick. He's the hotel clerk in John
Yes,
Wick.
that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. He's
No,
playing
not
a
Lance
bunch
Reddick. I'm talking
of
about Poseidon. Poseidon, sorry.
Oh,
Because I remember
I'd have
seeing
to
him
look. I've
almost-
seen him in other things.
Yeah, I know Lance Reddick is from John Wick. He's the main desk guy. But I was trying to think, like, because I remember seeing Poseidon in something else, and I was like, man, what is he from? And I could not put it on top of my head.
I'll do a little. Y'all keep talking.
figure it
I'll
out.
do a little research. On it.
But
I'll figure it out.
no, I think they honestly though, like I like Lance Reddick though, and so I'm fine with him.
I do too. I'm not complaining about the characters at all, or the actors.
No, I
It's
think
just,
like all the actors on this did a great job. Like to be honest, I
It's
think
just,
Percy's actor did a great job for acting wise. I
Yeah,
don't think it was terrible. I mean, same with like Grover and Annabeth. I enjoyed all their characters. To be honest, I don't think they did a good or a
Yeah.
bad job. So
though Toby Stevens is the Poseidon's name. He's in like Lost in Space, 13 Hours.
13 hours. Oh yeah, he's in 13 hours. That's what I've seen from. Yeah.
All his other stuff's some of it's kind of obscure. He's in the 2002, 2003 Napoleon. There's some TV shows there too.
Interesting. Yeah, I
He
think
was
I've seen
in
him from 13 hours. So that's what I saw him
Yeah.
from.
6'4". Yeah. Anyway,
He's a good actor. I think so. Yeah, as a whole, I mean, it's not. Fun fact: he played in a movie called Poseidon.
Oh, did he really? That's
Or
actually
sorry,
kinda
I misread that. Sorry, that says Possession. I am
Possession.
illiterate. I can't read.
funny. A little different than Poseidon, but
Yeah, it's a little different. Maybe it's because it was on my mind, so I
A
saw.
for effort.
That'd be an F.
Uh,
F. For it. But yeah, I think that's kind of where, when it comes to the whole throne room scene in the book, that it's at the summer solstice or whatever, and it's where all the gods come to meet together. So I was pretty disappointed that it was just Zeus. I was
Mm.
really interested to see how they would portray all the gods there together.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah, that's very
And
fair,
so
actually.
that was kind of a letdown. I was really interested to see that interaction and see,
Mhm.
you know, like I said, the characterizations of all of them. We'll get into more of that when we sort of talk through our entire season, but yeah, I wish they'd have done a little bit more with that. It feels the Olympus and that sort of throne room. It just feels very empty because there's just not a lot of people there.
Yeah.
It
I mean,
doesn't
he
necessarily
walks up and
look bad. It just feels empty.
Zeus is just sitting there.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
Like that's
yeah,
what he does all day is just sit there and wait.
yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
Again, I just think that whole not a bad episode, just kind of anticlimactic.
Agreed. Yeah. Agreed.
Not bad, just not
not bad, just not great. Yeah.
not as flashy as I would like it to be to
Just
end a
average.
season, especially for a show that has not been confirmed for a season 2. Like if it had already got a season 2 or coming, which I assume this one will, but it hadn't announced it. But if it had already been announced, I can see why they would be like, okay, we don't have to, go out on a high note because people know it's coming.
Yeah.
I imagine it's done well enough to get a season 2. I haven't seen the viewing numbers for this show, and they don't really. The viewing numbers are very inaccurate anyway.
Well,
So
they're skewed.
yeah. So, but I guess we'll get some sort of numbers here in the coming weeks. So, um, but we'll see how that pans out.
Well, if you guys actually want to know what the premiere episode got, it was 26 million views apparently. So
I like to
Pretty good.
compare that to like some of the other D plus shows that have come out in the last few years and see how that stacks up.